Good morning, everybody. It's Jillian. 12/12/2022, 8 o'clock a.m. on a Monday morning. So, this is the thing. So my book is introducing another arm of the Hydra. It is giving you a representation that there is somebody in the population who is not special, who is just like you, who is able to deal with all the different diseases she had in her body, figured out the key to understanding longevity and potential immortality is in the animal kingdom, because the animals out there are different representation of us. But every animal and human has been programmed, because 69 trillion microbes that are also Hydra are also programmable. And when you can program a microbe to open or close, or to believe in a politic or religion or a scientific dogma, you can program a simulation, civilization, a human, a population, any way you want to. And I knew this when I was cramming for the insurance exam, that if I just really train my brain to memorize things for a short term, then today I know that I could program my body to be open or closed relative to my intention and what kind of outcome I want. And then, of course, being raised by engineers, scientists, scientists and engineers can engineer anything they want relative to intention and purpose. So then I was like last night, my dog, so we went to bed around maybe 9 o'clock. Then I got up around midnight because she was like going in circles, not going in circles, but she was like restless, and I saw a long string of mucus come out like around midnight. I'm like, okay, her body is working. It's been pretty aggressive as far as the frequencies because it's been hot and it's cold. And so I'm like, okay, sugar, do you have to go to the restroom? Because I'm thinking like her body's pushing stuff out and it's probably triggering her to go to the restroom, because whenever she feels like she has to go to the restroom, she gets up, does a few circles, and then puts her ass on my side of the bed. I'm like, oh, okay. She's looking for a place where she can safely pee, where it's not going to get into her bed. And so I figured out that's her behavior. So it's like, okay, sugar, let's go outside. And we went downstairs, went outside, and then she was at her water bowl. And remember I showed you a picture of how she was standing like she was standing straight. She was standing like she did back when she was built up. And then around midnight, you can see her getting gimpy again. You can see the children were taking over, So then I power fed her some more. She straightened up a little bit, but then I also brought her back upstairs, and she's still sleeping. Okay? And so I know that her children are in control at night, and she is stronger during the day. I can see when she wakes up, she's a little gimpy when she wakes up, and then as I power feed her, and then she poops and everything, then she straightens up over the course of the day. Like she becomes stronger around like 5 or 3, 4, 5. Like when you see me filming her walking around, when she's walking around getting everything like going, getting her memories going, then that's her parent cells in charge. And then the children are in control at night on some level. But she is gaining control of her children. And that's the thing. And that's a process. Okay? Getting my dog's memories back is a process. And so she's the worst case scenario of what I could have dealt with. But I did on some level when I wasn't able to get up really for like about a day, where I just had to be stuck in bed for about a day or so. And then walk around like a freaking zombie, so fatigued, just so in a fog last summer, where I could barely get myself outside without sitting down. I had to sit down every time I go outside. I couldn't even look off in the distance because it was like the pain was so bad. Okay? But I got through it. And so that was my worst case scenario, but my husband's on the road. He went through his own immobilization where he thought he was dying. I'm like, oh, jeez. A lot of people were feeling stuff around that time, the end of summer, even Joe Biden. And so if we're all collectively feeling stuff here in America, then you know the frequencies are what is causing all of us to collectively feel stuff. Okay? That even Joe Biden was feeling stuff at the same time that my husband and his coworkers were feeling stuff. And now people are feeling stuff out there. Like my husband's feeling tired. A lot of his coworkers are feeling tired. I'm like so freaking energetic. Like the more tired they're getting, the more energetic I'm getting, and even more of the mental clarity. Where I'm just like buzzing around like a little bee, fixing this, fixing that, you know, keeping up on this, keeping up on that. And like it's been nonstop. It's been non-freaking stop. I mean, I feel like I've just been on this energetic high for days, ever since before Thanksgiving, a little bit before Thanksgiving. And so I realized that at some point I'm going to have to I don't say collaborate, but I'm going to have to challenge the medical system to finally fucking evolve. The holistic people, naturopathics and homeopathics can only prescribe you alchemy. And so I'm not even talking to the holistic industry. If I'm going to help people who are really far gone relative to my situation, where they really couldn't do it on their own like I could, or like Audrey could, or like John could potentially, or like John could, I've got to finally appeal to the medical system, not the holistic system. Because I can't see a naturopathic teaching, well, that's the thing. Can a naturopathic? No, a naturopathic couldn't. Well, maybe they could, I don't know. Doctors can show you safely how to do stuff. They could say, they could take more than 13 minutes that they are allocated for each patient, especially at Kaiser Permanente in California. They could take more than 13 minutes to go over your medical records. They could take more than 13 minutes to show you what the anus is, how far your finger can go up. They can even show you where poop gets caught up in and where it needs to be pulled out, that when you eat food and it helps expand. Because like when I'm feeding my dog the meat and the milk, and it's hot in the house, but it's not really that hot. It's like 69 degrees. But the frequencies are making things hotter. So then I leave her milk and the meat in that formula out because I don't want it to be too cold. And so you can see it actually, it's blooming. It's becoming thicker. It's replicating in the warmth of this house. And that's what also happens in your stomach, is that the live bacteria is blooming. And it also is going to help push things through. But you also have to help it out. And so the doctor should be the one to show you the picture of the rectum and the anus and show you how far you can go up to get stuff, because your fingers can only go so far. You shouldn't be fisting yourself, okay? And so I'm like, well, shit. Why can't people who are under a doctor's care go and challenge your freaking doctor? Say, hey, you have closed me up. You have told me I'm going to die someday. You have given me all these medications. You have done this, this, and this, and this. And since I want to trust you, well, then why you see me if you don't like what I did? Well, because you're the one that broke me when you think about it, because you went to them. Now I want you to make me again. Since doctors can make you or break you, and break you and then make you again, maybe it's time for you to hold them accountable if you really want to have a relationship with your doctor and you really want to have them to show you stuff. Because that's the only way that those that are under a doctor's care can possibly transition and have a fucking chance. That the doctors can save them in this world, because the world of industrial medicine in this world is going to have the opposite effect that it did in the old world. The old world was a slower frequency, so they had more time in between each diagnosable condition, and people accepted death. But in this world, death is coming faster, and all the therapies and everything are adding more compound interest that people can't afford because their bodies are closed up, and that innovation is now working against them, not for them. And they have to understand that, yeah, This is all about physics. You gotta tell them that energy cannot be created or destroyed. Hydra cannot be created or destroyed, only converted. That in the conversion process, you lose energy, you lose hydra. And then a closed system cannot evolve in a dynamic environment. And so you have to open up your system. You got to bring physics to your fucking doctor. You actually have to be almost smarter than your doctor to hold them accountable. But then if you're smarter than your doctor, you think they're going to teach you how to do the digital method on your own, or maybe you can teach yourself. But again, I have to say, you have to ask your doctor to teach you the digital method, to pull out the fecal programming you'll do systematically revolutionizing medicine. Because the ones that actually can do shit on their own and can research how to do it and how to find out how to do it, they're fine. The ones that are like, I gotta have a doctor to tell me everything, then tell your doctor that you want to fucking survive. That you want to end up in the morgue someday. That you understood that before in the old world, before climate change, the industrial medicine was everything. But now during this climate change, industrial medicine is good for certain people, but other people, not so much. Can you please reverse this situation so I could be at a point where I can pull out my own programming? I could be at a point where I feel okay, that I'll be okay during the process of transition, and that I'll survive my heart attacks and strokes and aneurysms. And I want you to tell me, I don't tell them, I want you, I don't know what you want to tell you. That's the thing, is what do you really want from your fucking doctor when you think about it? You want them to be on call for, because you know that if you're that far gone, you're going to have to feel stuff. Some people have predisposed issues of heart attacks and strokes and aneurysms and even paralysis on some level. Not everybody. I mean, those are some pretty extreme cases, but if you know in your family genetic line that there is paralysis, there is seizures, there is all these different type of things, then you want your doctor to know that you're doing something that's going to bring them on and that you'll survive them, that you know you're going to survive them, but you need to have food, and you want to have somebody on hand to support you during this process. What can you do to help me, doctor? And you don't know, but the medical system is not really equipped to have somebody on hand to deal with you during those processes. They're really more equipped to stop everything. But again, it's going to take the patient and a doctor who work together to revolutionize this medicine, to save their patients from dying, from actually not allowing them to go back to go into the morgue. It's going to take, or somebody who, that's the only way a doctor is going to revolutionize medicine. Not someone on the outside. I'm on the outside. I can't revolutionize medicine, but I can challenge the medicine industry to save their patients in a different way. So medicine closes you up and then surgically opens you up. Certain prescription medications over-the-counter medication opens you up temporarily, but then there are side effects. Revolutionizing medicine is asking your doctor to reverse everything they ever did to you with all the prescription drugs and even the surgeries, and you want them to oversee the process without telling you you're going to die someday. That's the main thing, is that doctors already put it in their patient's head that they're going to fucking die someday. And in not so many words, they say, we're going to try to make it as comfortable as possible for you on your way out the door. You want them to support you with transitioning to all foods in the food supply and to activate your immune system. Well, how do you activate your immune system? Well, the vaccines activate your immune system. Now, also the frequencies activate your immune system. Being around people in an environment that's such as this, and they have everything in their body being released, all their different stem cells, will activate your immune system. No matter what, you're going to have immune system activation. But if you're so scared of not having been under a doctor's care, but you want to activate your immune system, you want to be able to pull out the programming. And some people are morbidly obese. They have such a large body that they're going to need help from the medicine industry. Not so much medicine, but they're going to need help from the medical industry to do light therapy to get the fecal programming out until the patient can potentially do it on their own. Because remember, even back in the Indian days, before Rockefeller medicine, they were using alchemy to close up your system, to take away the pain. So I don't want people even thinking that I'm talking about going back to the shaman days of Indian medicine and Peruvian medicine and indigenous alchemic medicine. No, I'm not. Imhotep. If you want to just take it all the way back, even before the Indians and all the alchemists of the last 300 or 400 years, go back to 6,000 years. Imhotep was the contrast. He was the one that said, okay, here's the surgeries, here's let's close people up, use alchemy. Now you have all these diverse types of diverse people with their talents and their gifts, and we can train them, we can use innovation, use a lot of stress. I mean, the Rosicrucians knew how to nation build by taking fragments of people, and you have a diverse, talented population. Okay? But now we don't want medicines per se. Maybe light medicine if someone is that bad off where they're in that much pain, especially if you have fibromyalgia. But you know you have to bring on the pain. So you don't want harsh medicine where it takes it away, because when you take away all the pain, then in this environment, died suddenly situations. But you don't want as much pain. Oh, I don't know how they're going to do that. They're like, well, you either want the pain or not. but that's the thing. That's going to be the transition process. Because, yeah, people have been suffering for fucking years, and they die from their suffering. They die agonizing deaths. I was watching last night a movie called Cake with Jennifer Aniston, and watching that chick, and she's a great actress, and she is probably what people go through right now, where they're just laying in bed in their nice big house with a pool, and they're writhing in pain all night long because they can hardly sleep, because that's when the children are playing around, torturing the parent, which is them. And of course, when you're in pain all day long, every day, torture, that's agony, that's suffering. There's got to be the light at the end of the tunnel that doesn't have to end up in death, but, there's two different lights, where you could get through the pain, and then the suffering of evolution is less and less and less, to where it's almost non-existent. It's just a blow in the nose and sneezing and coughing a little bit, and that's it, and pulling out the poop. That's the only suffering that I'm really dealing with at this point. So eventually it'll get to that point for some people, but you have to go through the process. And so I'm going to tell you the vaccines will activate your immune system. I will also tell you the reactions from it are an evolution that must be supported correctly with all foods, systematically removing fecal plug so that the evolution can take and not work against you. And you want your doctor to go over your medical records, outlining everything you could possibly deal with during the process. And that food is everything, and pulling out the programming is everything. That you are holding your doctor, that is holding your doctor and the medical system accountable, and you pay their salaries. And that's the thing. And, they made so much money off of you. Now it's time for them to actually serve you in the way that makes sense for you. Not for them and their bottom lines, but for you. They made a boatload of money off you in the old world with all the surgeries and the medicines. And now it is time for them to evolve and actually save their patients, but in a different way. The world has changed. Okay? Climate change. Hello. And the industrial medicine must change as well. And so it's going to take the patients out there who are evolved, who still want to give some credibility to the medical industry, because they're the ones that are going to revolutionize medicine and allow the evolution to take hold over here in this little pocket, still offering people all the surgeries and the remedies and everything they could possibly want so they can anesthetize themselves and end up in the morgue someday. And people will choose that. But there's got to be a wing of medicine where they're actually reversing what they've ever did to somebody. And the person was able to handle it. And then you can have so many choices. It's not just, here, take a drug, a surgery, 13 minutes I'll spend with you, and that's it. Now medicine can be, well, we'll reverse everything we did to you, but because we gave you a great cured life. You were able to go and write many books and revolutionize the tech industry. And now you're 50 something years old or 60 something years old, and you're relatively okay health. Okay, so you had 60 years of amazing, amazing life. Now we're going to rebirth you with the help of us. And maybe that could be an extra $100 you pay on your insurance, because now they're going to have to figure out how they're going to support you during the conversion process. I mean, that's not out of the question. They have all the instruments and things and tools and brains to help people convert from dying to actually living. But the reason why they were there was to keep people cured, so they would stay in the game, so they would stay at work, so they would stay at academia and producing all of their peer-reviewed research. Okay? And so cures were great when you had to be consistent. Every single day you had to get up, at 8 o'clock and be at the door at 9 o'clock and go run your meetings for like 5 hours or whatever, and then come home and feed your kids and feed your husband and feed this and do this. And so you needed their surgeries. You needed all that to keep you in the game. You needed to manage your health while you were at work changing the fucking world. And now you've given 60 years of your life. 60 fucking years of your life. And they have made money off you, because every single time you went for a surgery, the insurance paid a shitload of money to them. Every single time you got a cure, the insurance paid a shitload of money. So the doctors in the hospital system made so much money off you, and then you paid your premiums. Now it's time for you to say, okay, now I've given 60 years of my life to the world, and you guys helped me do this. Now you got to help me rebirth myself, so that way I can now finally take my life back and go in a different direction and give back more to the system, because I have all this knowledge. What's the point of destroying someone who has 60, 70 years of freaking intelligence, knowledge, life experience? Why allow them to be destroyed? Why allow them to go into the morgue? And then what, their kid who knows nothing, who has absolutely no life experience, and who knows what kind of genetics they hold, and you want to put all your eggs in that basket, in this child's basket? When the parent who's had 60 years of their contribution to society, they should be able to have somebody in the medical system help them live again, not help them die. If I was under a doctor's care, I would want my doctor to develop backup measures in case something happens and I have a hard time getting around or can't hear, see, or walk for a certain amount of time, until my body gets reprogrammed with food and with light therapy to teach me how to walk again, and everything else that the body may lose during that process, if at all. My dog is teaching herself how to walk steady. Okay? And it's a process. Sometimes she's clumsy and she comes down the stairs, and I know when she's not really sure going downstairs, that she's just feeling like, spacey. And so I help her down the stairs. Some days she's really strong, other days she's not. And so that's the thing, is that somebody has to be there now to finally rebirth you. If not yourself, but somebody. If you lose that kind of programming for a certain amount of time, the memories. But you can regain them. My dog is regaining her memories, but it's a slow process. So if my doctor cannot develop or recommend backup measures, then I must go home and list out everything that needs to be done daily, weekly, monthly, and then find a service which can help fulfill the need, should it ever arise. I mean, if you have a partner and you're living with somebody who understands what you're doing, then that's great. You have them to fall back on, and they're not undermining you. But when you have people around you that are undermining you, that's a hard battle to fight, if it's even possible. Delivery services, maid services, and even a person to oversee and help you walk and become stronger if you ever lose the memory during the transition process. If Ashton Kutcher can come back from the therapies, from his vasculitis, okay, food rest and pulling out the fecal plugs over time is the other side of it. Because once you get on therapies, like over a long period of time, it's difficult to reverse that process over a long period of time. Not saying it's impossible. When you've been on therapies for many years, and with drug therapy or other type of therapy, okay, you're going to have to go back to the medical system and ask them to assist you in reversing whatever they've done to you. Because once you get off the therapies, you will experience the issue again, but now you're going to have to feed it. Now you're going to have to pull out the programming. That's the thing. And that's the thing, that's what right now what's going on in medicine, is that people are born without the gifts. They're born without sight. They're born without hearing. They're born without the skin that's protecting them. And so they're in pain. And so then what does medicine do? They go and try to then give them the temporary gifts of sight. Because why is it temporary? Because they were born without it, and then they were given the sight. And when you're given something, you have to pay for it. And so when you stop paying for it, the sight goes away again, but then you have to earn it. How do you earn it? Well, you're going to have to pull out the programming and feed your body, because there's programming in your body that's took away your sight. Because you're around people who are going to then give you herd immunity. When you're around people who can see and you can't see, it's because you have programming that makes you can't, that will tell you not to see until you pull out the programming and then take on the people around you's programming who can see, and then you'll eventually assimilate to your environment, to the people around you. That's the thing about medicine, is they've programmed people to be a certain way. And then when you want to be a different way, you have to pay for it. You have to fucking pay for it. Well, fine. If you're paying your premiums, then they should be able to then reverse everything they've done to you, because you're paying your premiums. And they should be able to give you back what they fucking took away from you a long ass time ago. Through the therapies. Even what you were born with, because you were born with that because somebody gave that gift or that curse to you. That's the thing. That's the thing about medicine, is that it is a business model. They keep you wanting, or they develop a situation where you want to be like everybody else. Well, yeah, if everybody else is seeing and I can't see, I'm going to want to pay for sight, of course. But if I can't afford to pay for sight, then I got to live blind. But if you're going to live blind and not pay for the sight, then you're going to have to do it the long way. You're going to have to fucking earn your way to get your sight, because you weren't allowed to develop sight in the womb. There was programming that took away your sight. What that programming is, I couldn't tell you. Biotech knows. Biotech knows everything. Biotech does everything. You can say better life through medicine or better life through chemistry, potentially, but not really, because if people are born with extreme conditions that we're like, holy shit. And then they got to pay for it to be like everybody else. But that's diversity. That's tolerance. See, that's why diversity and tolerance, that's why diversity was coined. So the system can do whatever it wants. And some people will have to pay for things that other people get for free, or not for free, they earned it. Or they were lucky, were born to a system where they were able to get it. But they have other issues that they have to go and deal with. But that's diversity, is that biotech can make and break and do whatever the heck they want. And people will suffer for it, or they'll pay for it. But they won't know anything's wrong with them. They won't know that they could change it. That's why compartmentalizing people in academia is the greatest thing according to the system, because they can compartmentalize everybody. You're in this specific corner in your diverse group or in your homogenized group where you think everything is normal, and it is for you until it's not. Until a person ventures outside of their group and reads something different, or they observe somebody else. See, that when people say, oh, don't read Jillian's book because, oh my gosh, it's like saying that, you know, don't travel to Europe because, oh my gosh, you're crazy. It's like saying, you know, don't be educated. Don't expose yourself to different cultures or different ways of thinking. Just stay ignorant and homogenized. That's what people say when they say don't read Jillian's book, is that, hey, stay ignorant and homogenized and don't ever have an imagination. And you're like, people actually do that? People actually think that way? Yeah, they do. That's diversity. And you still have to be tolerant of the people that are actively ignorant and that want to promote ignorance. You have to allow that to happen, of course. You can't convert someone that wants to be ignorant. You can't say, here, have some evolution. Here, have some democracy. Here, have some freedom. I want to free you. No, you can't force somebody to be free. You really can't. That's diversity. That's the irony of it all. But I have to appeal to those that are under a doctor's care. And I have to challenge the medical system. Somebody has to, because the patients ain't gonna fucking do it. The patients are too busy believing that they're gonna die someday and that the doctors have all the answers. Well, they do, but you gotta figure out what the question is. And the doctors will have the answer if you pose the question correctly. If you pose the question where they will be able to still fulfill their their bottom line, then fine. But you ask a different question. They'll give you the answer. You may not like it, or you may like it. It just depends. But you got to make it worth their while, because doctors don't work for free. And they have the Hippocratic Oath that still pain. See, here's the thing. Pain is not necessarily something that is bad. Pain that's not supported, now that's bad. But pain unsupported, yeah. So of course, the Hippocratic Oath can still be in play. Because the Hippocratic Oath says, do no harm. Well, when you do no harm, when you support pain correctly with all food and pulling out the fecal programming, there is no harm done. Especially when you teach your patient how to pull it out themselves. Cut your nails, patient. Do you really need 10 feet long nails? Do you really need talons like that? Because when you're pulling out your own programming and you have long ass nails, there's no fucking way you're going to do that. So you might as well cut your nails, patient. And it will take a good doctor to understand. And they haven't been trained in this. So they're going to have to be, or they're going to lose a lot of patients. And people are going to be really upset at the medical system as they are right now. But, I mean, that's still, we're in a transition process. We're in a major transition process. And so if I can get through this process over 6 years, the last 6 years, without triggering something perceivably catastrophic, and I'm a type O, relative to my lifestyle and belief system, many people can too. And so that's the thing, I'm a type O positive. So I don't have as many of the antigen antibody programming. It's the type A's and B's are going to have to do things a little bit differently and do it slowly, and also, it's do it slow, fast, whatever, but do it in a way where they have backup measures. Because you have a lot more of that antigen antibody programming that who knows when you finally do feed your body the bioavailable food and you're able to pull out the programming, what is that going to look like for certain? What's that going to look like? How is that going to manifest? It's still a wild card. That's what I'm saying. It's a wild card. But type O's, we don't have as much of the antigen antibody programming. And so, so that's the thing, is blood types are definitely, yeah. I don't want to say that they make it's difficult, but I'm saying that when you are under a doctor's care, that they'll tell you everything. If you're not under a doctor's care and you're blood type A and B and you're trying to do things on your own, which completely, yes, that's fine. But you have to know what could potentially be looming. Okay. And that's the thing, is that you have to put backup measures. And maybe do, get go through your medical records if you can get them and see what is in your genetic line, to see what you could potentially be pulling out and then replacing. Because right now people are so heavily cured and under a programming, they don't realize that when they do pull out the old programming, they're going to have to then build up new memories. But it doesn't mean you lose everything, because your body wants to survive. But again, Ashton Kutcher. Some people were born not being able to see, and they were able to see. So if you were born able to see, then you probably got it made. But I wish I knew Ashton Kutcher's medical records. I know he has a brother that he was going to donate his kidneys to, because his brother looks a little bit different than him. Ashton looks like someone who is heavily programmed. I don't even want to say good genetics, because good genetics means what? That you got programmed, you got nipped and tucked. And so when Ashton Kutcher lost his hearing, his sight, and his whatever, he probably paid for his beauty, and that was his prototype. And then they had to go and reprogram him again. And maybe his brother was the raw prototype that wasn't innovated, that could evolve if he wanted to. You see what I'm saying? So it's hard to say what people were born with, what they have in their genetic line, all these different things. And so that's the thing, is that you want to kind of just understand the bigger picture. Remember, I'm coming from a type O who really was not under a doctor's care. I paid, I think, for about maybe 6 months, I paid $300 a month to Kaiser And I asked them, what can you do for my PMDD? And they said they tried to prescribe me Prozac. I think I was on it for about 30 days and said, screw this, I'm not going to be a zombie. They're like, oh, and then they wanted also me to go to like, what is it, weekly support groups for people with PMS or something. But they were prescribing me Prozac. Okay, I wasn't going to do it. So I wasted $300 a month to an insurance company that I never really used when you think about it. Okay, so I was never under a doctor's care for any, I was so poor. I was so poor but then, you see the pharmacies giving out the flu shots. I'm like, I don't really need a flu shot. Then I was in the military, and then they put me up with all this stuff, and that's fine, whatever. Okay, but I was never under a doctor's care. I think the only time I went to the hospital was for a UTI that they gave me antibiotics. I think I took antibiotics that I had an allergic reaction to. It was a sulfa. And that's when I realized that, that was probably the monster, the pneumonia monster that came to surface too at that time. Because they gave us sulfa back then for pneumonia. That's probably why I was allergic, because I had antibiotic resistance. And then the body wanted to push it out. And that was the white blood cells that were all over my body. Like all over. And when you have a closed immune system and you have a bunch of white blood cells, that's like getting a wrong blood transfusion. You could die. Okay? When you have a closed system with a wrong blood transfusion. And or being exposed to so much innovation, so many antibodies that the body cannot release more than it's producing. That's why people die too. Okay, so if I can get through this process over the last 6 years without triggering something perceivably catastrophic relative to my lifestyle, many people can too. Your doctor made you, and they can break you, and they can make you again. And then you sustain yourself. And then you can let the doctor help somebody else transition out of the system. That's my dream of the new world for those who are not too far gone. Okay? And so I have a dream. One day people will not die from suffering. Because you got to suffer a little bit. I don't even know how much you need to suffer, but it's all relative to people's lifestyle and belief systems and their biochemistry. Okay? And so, my book really leans towards, I'm really not thrilled with the medical holistic industry in this environment. They were okay, I guess, relative to expectation, before climate change, before maybe 20 years ago. But now, if I'm going to pay for anything, it's for triage, for them to take a steering wheel out of my ass. That's about it. If my house falls in through a mine, and I survive it, and then my insurance company will pay for, my house insurance? Will it pay for, potentially. It'll pay for a murder. I don't know. I have to ask about that. No, if my house falls in, my house falls in. But that's the thing. So I'll have to look at that and see if my house falls, what kind of medical do I have for that as far as emergency? That's a good thing to ask. Because I know with car insurance, yeah, if it's your fault, then you have your own medical payments. If it's somebody else's fault, you can sue for theirs. And that's how it works. And so as far as house insurance, I don't know how to say that. But anyways, and I used to be an insurance agent, but that was not a scenario I ever thought about. So I should ask them. But anyways, other than that, that's all I really have today. And I was waiting to see if my dog would wake up, but no, she's sleeping. She's sleeping. That's just fine. Because the frequencies are really jumping hard. They are really hard. They are I'm telling you, it's gonna get even more aggressive. And they're saying, that the tri-virus or whatever, the trifecta virus, whatever, RSV, COVID, and the flu are all working together. Well, yeah, we have a lot of frequencies going on. A lot. I even felt the heat yesterday. I felt my heat rise like so much a few times this last weekend. They turn up on the weekends and they slow it down on the weekdays because I know how aggressive I feel the aggression during the weekends, the heat aggression. So, and that's going to bring up a lot of people's shit. Literally, it's going to bring up a lot of people's stuff. And yeah. So anyways, So, with my next book, Giving Birth to Yourself, I'm going to bring this up, that if people are going to give birth to themselves, they were dying in the medical system. Now it's time to stay. Now it's time to come back to life in the medical system. If you're under a doctor's care, okay? And it's now time for patients to now advocate for themselves. And if patients don't want to advocate for themselves, then that's fine. That's their choice. There's that wing of the hospital where the order of operations is the nursery to the morgue. And you can follow that order of operations, and it'll be exponential, or it will be accelerated in climate change. But if you are relatively intelligent and you can take on new information and you're under a doctor's care, maybe it's time to advocate for yourself and take this information as an example. And realize that it really is very simplistic. Why you die? Because you have a closed system and the antigen antibody programming is trapped in your system, attacking your vital organs. And that's heart disease, as well as die suddenly. And when you open your system up, you release the old programming, so that way you can take on the vaccines without it working against you. Because, yeah, when you have a closed system and you're taking all the different therapies out there that are FDA approved, that's why some people get diseases and others don't. Because some people's systems are open, they can release the demons. Others are more closed, and they don't release the demons. And guess what? They have now an exotic disease that's on the inserts. That's why there's so much of the controversy about disease when it comes to therapies. Because some people are more open than others, and others are more closed than others. Okay? And it's about open, close, open, close, open, close. That's just like watching fish. Oh, glub, 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 open, close, open, close, open, close. Open, close happens at the micro level, and open, close happens at the macro level. And physics, the positive and negatives, are what causes the open and close. 0 for on, 1 for off. Or 0 for off, 1 for on. I forget that. That was a while ago. All right. I'm going to go and drink my coffee and start formulating some stuff. Okay. Hey, thanks. Appreciate you listening.